Welcome to Feminine Power Time. Turn off the chatter and tune into what matters. This is where we reimagine and redesign how we and the world work from the inside out. A place where well-being, leadership, and wisdom meet. And oh my goodness, when those things come together, watch out. New possibility abound all over the place. Hello, you all. This is Arylo, and I, of course, am your host and the creator of Feminine Power Time. And I'm so excited to be here with you for episode number 229. It is our third in this series on what do we do at year end? These year end rituals. We have had the year end release. We've had the year end downshift. And today, this is the year end honoring. So take an exhale. I'm going to take an exhale with you here. This is one of my favorite practices. One of, I would say, top 3 100% ways of staying out of burnout, overwhelm, self-sacrifice, the doldrums, fear, shame, heaviness, and staying light and staying, just staying well inside of our body, mind, heart, and spirit. Did you know that we spend 8,720 hours in a year? Just think about that. Giving and living and working and dreaming and trying to, do our best and caretaking and managing our lives. But how much time do you spend actually honoring all that you have created, all that you've done, all that you've become, the impact you've had, the progress you've made, all the invisible ways in which you have grown and stretched and shown up for people and made a positive difference on the planet through your choices, through your voices, and through who you are as a human? How many hours have you spent so far? Just think about it. Even if it's just 2 hours, that's like 0.00002% of a whole year. So one of my jobs has been for the last decade plus, is to do what I call keep the beat, and to provide these power pauses to people such as yourself and me that help us stop and pause and see what has actually occurred. And not just like look at it and be like, okay, that was nice, I'm just going to move on to the next thing. But to actually pause and receive. That's a big word for today. Receive. RECEIVE. And this particular experience that we're about to go in, this honoring ritual. I have been doing these honoring rituals for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I would say. For those of you that came to the reflection ritual that we do every year, the third Sunday, usually of December, it was great to be with you. If you did not attend that, you can still do that. Just go to reflectionritual.com and sign up, and you'll be able to do the full reflection process, which is really powerful and potent. And this honoring part is just one very powerful part, but definitely, do that. And it started there. And I've been doing them with my counsels. I have 2 of them I'm doing today. I have one with a friend. No, and I've done none, at least one. We'll probably do a couple more this weekend together. And I don't think you can get enough honoring. I just don't think that you can. I've been doing these with my private clients as well at the end of the year, and just, pausing with them to really honor how they've grown and acknowledge their impact. And you're part of my community, whether you and I have met before or not, or if we have, yay. I consider this, even though it is a podcast, for sure, it's the vehicle. I consider this a way that I keep the beat and help you keep the beat, so that we don't get beat up by the banana world. We stay with a consistent rhythm and really pause at these points to really honor, dear one, what you have done, who you've become. And so honor is one of my favorite words. We're going to talk a little bit about what honor is. And then I sat down yesterday and I said, okay, what is the ritual I want to take you through? And so we're going to go through 3 different areas that are really areas of success that most of us don't even think of as success. I was talking to Noah this morning, and he's so cute. He always has resistance to doing the year-end reflection process every year, ever since I've known him. in the 28 years that we've been doing reflection processes. I'm already pretty much complete with mine. I just finished most of mine today. I have a little bit more to do. I'll do my reflection process over the course of a good 2 weeks, and I just love it because it's just like this thing I get to wake up to in the morning or do in the evening, and it just is a place to keep coming back to. So I'll complete it sometime here. I always say, like, you want to complete your reflection ritual this year, I would say by January 11th, because it's the new moon, or the first Sunday of January, or, if you want to use the man-made day of January 1st, which is a calendar year. But don't pressure yourself here. But for today, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and turn off the outside world and allow me to take you through this honoring ritual for yourself. And you can grab a piece of paper and you can jot some things down as we go through this. You can just, receive it. And I'll also put into the show notes kind of the different areas so you can go back if you want to actually journal on it. And I really do encourage you to do the reflection ritual. So that is where we're going. Sound good? Okay, two PSAs, public service announcements. One is at this time of year, we always begin our visioning process. For those of you that are new here, you might not know we do something called the Emerge Visioning process. It's a 4-part process, takes place over all of January and kind of extends into February, ends up being about 6 weeks total to vision and set your intentions for the year. And it's a co-creative way of doing it. So it's a kind of higher vibration. It gets kind of past just, I made my vision board or I made my SMART goals. It's a completely higher vibe way of approaching both your professional and personal and relational world. And so you can come and do that with us. Just do the Emerge Visioning, and that you can just find out more about that at emergevisioning.com. And or this is when we start the next cycle for Feminine Wisdom Way, which the Emerge process anyone can do. The Feminine Wisdom Way is specifically for women, and it is a conscious community of women who are really diving into the feminine and applying that to their work in the world and their well-being and their relationships and how they live, and working with cyclical living and the moon cycles and power pausing and this system and technology it's taken me, over a decade to create. And it's a great community, and it's a really good structure to hold you in a year that's going to be, great. And also, I think, really challenging. So you can find out more about that at femininewisdomway.com. And we all do the Emerge process together. It's part of that. And then we continue on for the year. So do check those out. And the Emerge process always starts the first Sunday of January. So those are the PSAs, and I hope to see you. Hope to see you there. Okay, so let's just take a breath and slow it down. And I want you to go ahead just to close your eyes. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes so that we can presence and invite in this energy of honor. And see if you can just slow your breath down and trace your inhale and your exhale. And as you're breathing in, kind of imagine and see, it's almost like the color of honey. When I think of honor, when I feel honor, I imagine this beautiful color of honey. And it's warm, but not hot. And it's cool, but not cold, all at the same time. It has this radiance that's both warm and cool. And it's this energy of honor that in the dictionary is said to mean like to hold oneself or to hold a person in high regard. And just think of a time in your life in which you have been honored, perhaps by an outside entity, person, someone who honored you. Oftentimes it can show up as like an award or a recognition where someone really, or a group really, just really appreciates. It's beyond appreciation. It's kind of it's like appreciation plus, where it's like really honoring who you are and honoring your care and honoring your presence. And maybe that's never you can't remember a time, but I can assure you that there's a time in your life when someone, somewhere, even if it was the most simple honoring, you did something kind for someone and they recognized your kindness. And they went beyond just a thank you to truly seeing you, truly pausing to be with you, to really see and say, I see you, I honor you. And it's like you can feel those waves just coming through you. And I'm going to ask you to just start to open to that today, because that's the energy, that's the field we're creating. Some point this coming year, I'll do a series about honor, because reimagining honor is a big way that we can make a shift in this culture. And the crazy banana culture, some people call it the patriarchy, not my favorite word. I like to think of it as the powerarchy. And one of the things that's missing is honor. I don't know what happened to it and where it went, but I have some things to share about it. I've been really looking at it, and more on that in episodes to come. But this piece of honoring, and we can see it of how we don't, the planet's not honored, or people aren't honored, and then people can get put into leadership positions and not be honorable, and that's just crazy. Why do we live in a culture in which people would put people into leadership positions that are not honorable? So we can't wait for the banana culture to, we have to do this first ourselves. And so my invitation is for you to come at this as a way of you saying, I don't really care right in this moment who sees what I've done, or who knows what I've done, or who thinks it's valuable, or how many likes I've gotten, or how many posts I've gotten, or how many, stars I got on my performance review, or whatever the outside is. I'm asking you to take a radical act here right now and take back your sovereignty and stand in your own self-worth and stand in your own self-advocacy and say, I choose to stand here right now and honor myself. I choose to press pause here with Christine and say, I'm going to create space to honor what has happened this year, because this matters to me, because I spent 8,720 hours giving, there's some sleeping in there. But if you don't stop to pause to honor and really feel it, because honor is a field. That's what's so different about honor. It's not just, gratitude is a field too. It's not just like a thank you or, oh yeah, I did that. It's like, it's a field that gets created within you. And there's a beautiful wisdom teaching that says honor swallows struggle. Honor swallows struggle. And so just take that in for a moment. Think of the struggle. Remember the struggles you've had. That's important to do this year too. Struggle you might be sitting in right now. That's why we do the shorts in the full reflection ritual. We're not going to do that today. We did that last podcast. But that there has been struggle and interference, and there's going to be more coming into this next year. Like there will be more interference. Like, the intensity is going to increase as we go through this birth canal as a culture. And so it's just so wise to be like, okay, if Christine is saying, and it's not, I didn't make it up, it's wisdom, that honor swallows struggle. It's like that honey just comes around the struggle and around the suffering and around the interference, and it would be like, it just swallows it up. So all that's left is pure honey, pure sweetness, even in the middle of whatever struggle is happening. So let's fill your field up with honor right now. What do you say? Good? Okay. I might be a little sniffly and a couple coughs here and there. I'll do my best. I was actually going to tape this podcast last week on the solstice, and I just spent a lot of life force this November and December creating a power pause for leaders and teams at the year end, and also delivering these power pauses and all of the things. It's been quite a year. Like, oh my God, like I did so much versus where we're going to start today. I did so much invisible work this year on the inside. So much. I just did a deep 6-month dive into my own internal places where struggle and suffering were still kind of locked in there. And I think my body was just like, oh my God, now she's going to rest. And you're going to rest, Christine, and be still. So I have a little sniffles, but I'm all good. I'm off to a massage. after this. And this is why, I I've created Feminine Wisdom Way and created these power pauses and do all these rituals because I need them too. Just like you, left to my own devices, I just keep going and going like the Energizer Bunny. And so the universe helped me and these practices helped me. And that's why I love living with the cycles, and it allows me to find these places of stillness and solitude and silence, so that I can hear more deeply. And in this case, so we can all feel how much we've grown. So we're going to start, I made eyes so here's our first eye, because I love the alliteration. So we're going to start with the invisible and honoring the invisible things that have occurred for you this year, the ways in which you've grown yourself, the ways in which you've shown up for others, and all of the things that you do professionally and personally that no one sees necessarily, but without them happening, they wouldn't, things would go sideways. It's kind of, I call it the George Bailey. And every year as we come back to this season, and it's the year end, and it's still, it's the same process that we use of reflecting and receiving and releasing and resetting. But every year there's a special focus. And last year it was really on the impact on people and planet and how we've made a difference with people. And we are going to touch there today. But where I wanted to start today was with this invisible, because it's the one that's really showing up the most. Because there are so many ways and things that you do that have happened, that do make a difference, that are invisible to the outside. And if we don't start valuing the invisible, which is often the feminine, it's the mystical, it's the intuitive, it's the stuff you can't see on a spreadsheet. You won't. It could affect a spreadsheet. It's the thing that you see in the health of you don't see it in the grades of your kids, but because of the health of you and the well-being of you, your kids might get better grades. Like, we are so over-focused on the visible results, grades and marks and dollar amounts and physical material things that we can hold, and tangible things are wonderful and it's an important thing, but it's the invisible where the real power is at that oftentimes is what's driving the tangible. So again, we don't wait for the world to value the invisible. We start by honoring it first. So let's take a look at first the invisible within yourself. So what were the ways that you grew, that you evolved, that you met challenges, that you chose your own healing or your own liberation and you dove deep? These are things that affected you at a body, a mind, a heart, a spirit level. And see if you can find one. Like, let's just do one. You can always come back to these and do more. But I want you to really grab onto one thing that was a way that you grew or evolved and chose it. Like, you're different on the inside. And that invisible work, it's like you didn't, maybe you did post it on social media. And again, it's not that social media is bad, although there's a lot of things that are not great about what goes on over there. There's value to it too. It's not the technology, it's how we use it. But there is this piece of having to always share and say, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. That's like an addiction to recognition. And it's a dangerous place to live from, because it's like a meal that you just, it's like eating these little bites again and again and again, and you're never satiated. You just have to have more, and you have to have more. It's like, I was watching the Charlie Factory, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and those little kids who just have to have more, and they have to have more, and they have to have more, and they're never satiated, except for Charlie. And we're like that, and you have to be careful and be aware of how technologies and different things can get your body and your mind and your being addicted to that. And so what I'm inviting us to do right now and inviting you to do is, like, who cares about what the outside world sees right now? What's one thing you really want to pause and honor that you stretched, you grew, you showed up for, and turn that energy in And I have my hand on my heart right now. And just, saying to yourself, I really honor that you what? I really honor that I what? For me, with this deep work that I did with the Gene Keys this summer for 6 months, it was really more like 7. Like, I honor that I committed to it. I devoted myself to it. I dove in like deep, 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 deep. And it took commitment. It took devotion. It took me looking at some things that, it took a lot. And I honor that I stayed devoted and committed to it. And I'm still, I'm coming out the other side. I feel like I'm going to emerge in February 1st and like coming out of the water like, oh my God, I've been purified. It's taken 9 months, but I've been purified. And I chose that. And because of that, energy didn't go to other things. But that internal work, like I honor that internal work. It's gonna pay so many dividends next year and in the many, many years to come because it's affected my presence. It's impacted my sense of internal security. I'm so much more free because I went through that process. So what is that for you? And you say those words, I really honor that. And you can write those down if you have a piece of paper. And again, it doesn't matter. You don't have to ever share that or share it with some people you can that matter to you. I had a wise woman tea yesterday, an honoring ritual with my friend Cheryl, and I shared this with her and shared my process with her and what came out of it and sent her some pictures of my journal. And that was enough. I know I'm sharing it here with you all, but it is, it is really beautiful to find a person to share it with. And to have that person reflect like, yeah, I really see that. And I honor that in you, which she did. She's a wonderful honoring reflection person. And so that's different, right? Than just, I got to put it out there. I got to put it out there. I got to be seen for it. I got to share it or whatever, because you don't really get connection that way. So this is also like with this invisible part and the honoring part, developing relationships and having these moments where you can really have and be in connection with somebody who can do that kind of honoring for you. If you have a person like that, this would be a great podcast to share with them, and then you can do it together. I was talking to one of my clients who does I do a year-end reflection power pause for all my clients, and she's sharing it with her sister, and so they're going to do it together and then honor each other this coming week. And so it's like you could do it that way. And if you're like, I don't have anybody, that's okay. Start with yourself, and then be like, okay, I need to get myself into some communities where I can do that. That's what we just did on the full moon in the Feminine Wisdom Way, and then put people into breakouts and dyads, and they always come back shining because they've had someone else witness them that can. So it is an important part, but just do it in a way that it feels really like you actually are receiving the energy of honor. So let's talk about the second part of invisible. So how did you show up for others with your presence, with your care, space holding, giving, that made a difference, that you really made a difference and had an impact on a person, a group, a community. And just let's start with one person and choose a personal person. And a person that you had some kind of impact on because of your presence. Now, this is what we're doing. You're honoring your presence, your choice of giving care, right? You can't see the care. Well, you can. Like you might say, well, I did this and I did this, but I want you to see the energy and the heart energy and the care and the embodied presence energy, and see the energy exchange that you gave to that person and what you created for that person that was kind of invisible. In the feminine, there's these different archetypes that I teach, these leadership archetypes. One is called space holder. And space holder is a person who really holds space for somebody else. And it's one of the things that we do all of the time. You do it as a parent, you do it as a mentor, you do it in your job. And it's the things that we don't get valued for. We don't get paid for. They're not on performance reviews. And it's another example of the feminine, not woman, man. This is the feminine, although it often happens for women, but it also happens in careers or jobs that are more about the invisible, like space holding. And even like I think of some of my friends and my clients who work in recruiting. The best recruiters are space holders. It's one of the things that they do. But their job is valued based on how many recs they fill. But really, they do so much to hold space during a process for the manager and for the client and the potential candidates. And like there's all the space holding that takes place. And so why this is so powerful, and this also happens like even in family systems, right? It's like when we're doing all the nurturing that you do as a parent, all that time and space that's taken place that nobody sees, we have to value that. Because when we start to value it and you start to honor it, so just taking a moment and just, again, you can put your hand on your heart, and who's a person who you've held space for, you've given care to. Your presence made it, you chose to be really present with them. And saying, I really honor that. I really honor that you chose this. Honor that impact of that energy. And what was that impact? And then the last invisible piece is the things that you have done. See this, and we're going to kind of look at it either professionally in what you do for work in the realm of your career, or in any kind of parenting, caretaking kind of form where you're doing stuff like for your household, kind of say. So these are the invisible things that are like the plumbing, I always say. So it's like for me, like at home, here at home, there are all these things that Noah does. He does the grocery shopping. He makes sure that the house cleaners come. He makes sure the yard guy comes. He changes, the light bulbs. Like there's all these invisible things. He, cleans the kitchen at night. Like he does all these things to make our household run, and takes the garbage out. And they're invisible because he just does them. And these invisible things, when we don't honor that those are happening and that we're doing them, and also that others are doing them, what happens is that it's like we just take them for granted. And it's not just an appreciation, it's an honoring of the impact of what that allows somebody else to do, or even allows us to do. And we don't notice it missing until it's not there, right? When Noah goes on a mankind weekend, and then I'm like, oh, I got to take out the garbage, and that's a very minor thing, but you can ratchet that all the way into the work world and into any way that in your professional life is that there's a lot of invisible things that happen that people don't notice unless it's gone sideways. So if I'm working with someone like I have a client who works in the financial part. She's a comptroller for a specific company, and her team built all these systems and all these processes and all this invisible. It's like the plumbing of the organization. But if that wasn't there, the company couldn't do all the other things that the company does. And they only see it when it's broken. And so part of my work with her was to really help her make it visible, first for herself, first for her team, and then for other people within the organization, so that they could really value the work that they're doing. And so this is an important part. It's not about like, again, I have to be seen, I'm managing up. It's about valuing what it is that you're doing and the invisibility of it. So just taking a moment and just shine a light on all the ways in your personal life or your household that you've really shown up and done invisible things that have made a huge difference to keeping things in harmony, and that they matter, and really, saying to yourself, I honor that this matters. And then the same thing in the external world and in professional capacity. And it could be in a community, it could be in your actual work, it could be in your team, it could be in whatever that means for you. And again, just seeing what are some of those invisible things that maybe people see the outside product. Think of some of my friends who are artists. And art just doesn't pop out of your butt, one day and boom, it's there. For an artist to be amazing, the internal parts that happen and the craft that they practice, it's allows that beautiful product we might see. I'm looking at my shelf here, and I have this chalice that says Fierce Grace on it, which were these chalices I had commissioned for the Elevate Leadership Council that completed this last year, and all the women got these chalices, and I commissioned them from my teacher, Sloan, and I rolled the clay, and I did some of the staining of the words and stuff, and helped her pick out some, kind of help design it. But she made them because she's been doing it for years and years and years and years and years, and I really honor her commitment to the craft and what it's taken for her to create something like that. And so there are things like that in your own life that, it's honoring that creative process. And maybe it's just how you make chicken soup, it's that you've done it so many times, and there's a way of honoring that creativity. Creativity is invisible in a way until it comes out into something that is you can actually see. But there's so much in there. So what is that invisible pieces that have allowed you to create or produce or, show up in a way in your work, in the world, and creative expression, and really honoring that. And let's just take a little pause here. How are you all feeling over there? I need to take a little sip of my water. I hope this is sinking in there, and I'm not sure. You may be getting some things that they're kind of popping up, and there might be some things that you're like, nothing's coming for me on that. What's Christine talking about? And I just want to really encourage you to stay in this field of this honoring with me just for a little longer, and take these inquiries and walk on them and sit with them and just allow yourself to be in these next 2 weeks or so, to be in a field of honoring. And imagine if you create the next year, the next cycle from honor versus I have to, or I should have, or why didn't I, or whatever hot, stuff is out there that's making that's going to create from pressure and fear and scarcity and more of that. If you actually could allow yourself to stay in a present neutral space of honoring, what will happen is grace will come in. I was going to do this part at the end, but it seems like Grace wants to talk right now. So I'll just bring this in, and this is an honoring of grace. So grace is something I can't define in one word. But what I can say about grace is that it is the 13th superpower that we invite in every year in the Feminine Wisdom Way, the last Tuesday or Wednesday of the year. And then so that gives us the last week of the year and the first week or so, the first week of the new year, calendar year, kind of going into the second week of January. We invite grace in, and we create what we call the 13th cycle. So in the calendar year that exists, the Roman calendar, one of the reasons that we feel so much stress and pressure and not enoughness is because we're working in a 12 cycle calendar. And 12 cycles is not the natural cycles of how the planet works. There's 13 cycles in a full cycle. The moon cycles every 29.5 days. And why this is relevant is because we are part of Earth. And when wisdom teaching is super clear, when you align with the natural cycle, things come into more harmony. Doesn't mean it's always easy. Doesn't mean there's not challenges. So again, we don't wait for the crazy outside banana world, not like change your calendar tomorrow. There is a lot of people for many years have talked about if we shifted the calendar system, how that would be that could do a lot more than we know. Talk for another time. But for right now, what I want to say and I want to share with you all is the practice is this last week of the year and this first week of the new year in January. And then also, kind of, I like to say kind of like into that second week, we create this field of grace. And what we say is like, we don't have to know what next year is about yet. We don't have to know all of the things. We allow ourselves to be in the unknown and stay in this honoring field of all that you've created, all that you've already done, like all you've already become. You don't need to start next year from scratch, like that's crazy. You want to create from momentum, love. You want to create from things that are already in the field. You create from who you already are. So this notion of stopping and starting a year is completely freaking banana pants. And so just like if you're still in that cycle, stop now and be like, okay, what Christine is saying is like, and seeing it as like circles almost of these cycles, is like there's this field of honor, of honoring what has been, honoring myself, honoring the relationships, honoring what I've created. Oh my God, this is so great. I get to live in a honeypot for like 2 weeks. And whenever you're like listening to this, it's okay. Like you're like, oh my God, I missed those 2 weeks. It's okay. Pick any 2 weeks. I don't care. Put it in there wherever you're at right now and be like, okay, I'm going to make an honoring field and really honor. And that's, what I've been doing for the last week and a half. So I kind of stay in the honeypot a little bit longer. And my friend Cheryl was saying, she's like, well, what do you think next year is about? I'm like, Cheryl, and it was so cute because we're like, because normally I'd have an answer because I'm always like, what's next? What's next? This is why I do this, with all of you. And I'm like, I've been loving so much, just looking at all how I've grown this last year and all of the wisdom I've gained. And I'm just honoring that right now. And I'm going to allow it to kind of show me what is wanting, and all the ideas are still there, and all the dreams and the desires, they're still there. But what if this year you lived by this wisdom teaching of grace, which is make no move before grace goes before you. Make no move before grace goes before you, which basically means let grace lead the way, because grace is she makes the crooked places straight, they say. She does the heavy lifting for us. And she helps us create a field of compassion that allows miracles to occur. When we just activated grace in the Feminine Wisdom Way just a couple days ago, and just sinking into these teachings of grace, I could just see how it did like wash a golden, radiant gold over every woman that was there in our circles that day, and how it gave us all permission to be like we're in a new era, you all here. Like we're going into it. Like how things have worked for you in the past are not necessarily going to work going forward. We're all being called to do things differently, yet also preserve the things that are already here. And so just if you look to myself, Christina's saying, okay, things are not always, we can't just kind of keep plowing ahead. But there is this thing, it's called grace. And grace supersedes any religion or any dogma or anything like that. And here's a way to think about grace, is to remember a time in your life where grace did show up for you. Where it was like a force, like an energy, like something, like a hand came in and made something that was going sideways straight, that made a connection for you that wasn't there before, that did some of the heavy lifting when you didn't know that, how you could even do it. that where like it felt like a miracle, came in. And a miracle doesn't have to be like angels, floating down from heaven. There's small miracles and there's big miracles, but it's like grace is that energy of like, I couldn't have done that on my own. There was providence, there was serendipity, the synchronicities like we were talking about a couple podcasts ago. So take a moment right now and let's honor grace. Where's a place that grace did show up in your life this year? Where is a place that grace did show up this year? Through a connection, through an opportunity. Where did grace show up? And taking a moment and saying, you know what, I honor grace. I see you, I honor you. I can feel that support and that help, and thank you. I honor that grace showed up, which means I can do it again and again. One of the practices that we invoked every year with grace is to remember to invite grace in. The teaching is grace is always there. You have to invite it in. And so every year I kind of forget that, but every year we come back to the end of December and I'm like, oh, right. So you could just do that. Even if you're like, I don't even know what grace is. What is Christine Arylo talking about? You can just start to consider having a relationship with grace, because grace creates the environment for honor to occur and for miracles to occur. So it's something you want to have a relationship with, and it brings a lot more ease into our lives. Maybe I should do a podcast series on grace, but that's a taste of it to consider. I've studied grace for many, many years. Still, I'm a student of grace, and the Emerge process. One of the things we do every year is we pick a theme for the year, and for a couple of years, that was like my theme, like the year of living in grace, the year of receiving from grace, the year of radiant grace. And so I just kept making it part of my main theme for the year. And when you do something like that, it's where the power of focus in having a intentional practice over the course of a year, you start to get wisdom, you start to get wiser about it. So consider that with grace. And let's wrap us up here on incremental progress. This will be our last one. Kind of combined the impact on people into the invisible. So hopefully you felt that really good. And if you're like, I really want to feel more about the impact I've had on people, you can go back and listen to last year's podcast too, which is You Are Making a Difference in the World. And that's on the same time last year. So you can look in the library on your podcast app, or you could also go to the Feminine Power Time podcast library and go to the series on, there's a whole library and there's a whole section there on year end and year start power pauses that I've done over the years. And that one from last year is called You Are Making a Difference. So feel free to tune into those. And remember that library is there on my website. So you can always go back and find them and then check them out and find them on your library, on your podcast app. Okay, last one, honoring. Let's honor the progress you've made, the increments of the progress. One of the crazy, stupid things about we see success in the world is we're like, it's what I've done, it's what I've finished, it's what I've completed. My God, if we wait till what we've completed is done, like we're never gonna feel good. It's just gonna suck. It's just gonna suck, and we're always gonna be pressured to do more. So honoring your progress is like looking at a project that you have made progress on this year. This could be a project at home. It could be a project professionally. Or look at a goal that you've had and that you've made progress on. It's one of the things I love about the Emerge process. Every year we come back to it, and Catherine Torini, my visual thinking partner, she's one of the things she recognized about. We've been doing the Emerge process. This is, I think, our 9th year. So like year 4 or 5, she realized I keep having the same kind of thing come up, my same desire, my same intention come up on, my process, and putting it on my vision book for the year. And she's like, I'm realizing that some of these intentions and dreams are going to take a while. And we're like, yep, that's part of the process. And it's like, oh, right. So dreams and desires and goals are like children, like humans. We grow over time. And the way that children grow the best, we grow the best as humans, is through acknowledgement and celebration and be like, look, you're growing. Look, this is happening. You want to do the same thing with your dreams and your desires. So what's a dream or a longer dream or goal that you've had that you've made progress on this year? And really like honoring it, not just being like, oh yeah, okay, I did that. That was great. Now, let's pause for a moment and like pretend or like imagine like putting that into your hand and look at that goal or the dream or the intention. And like really looking at it and being like honor it, like honor how has it grown? How is it more informed? Give it some of that gooey gold. I feel like I have Gizmo from the Gremlins in my hands because he's like, ooh, feed me gold, feed me gold, feed me the yummy stuff. And just like let yourself feel that lightness. And I'm assuming it probably matters to you. So by seeing the essence more in, it's like, oh, I get to be with this again this next coming year. And another place of progress, one last piece to pause here is like, what's a shift in your life, in yourself, in your reality that you have been wanting to make for years, maybe even, and you've made progress in that this year. Progress has occurred. Shift has occurred. Maybe it's not 100% where you are and want to be, because again, it's about celebrating and savoring the process. And so honor, how is this shift more present? How is this reality more present? How are you more present in it? Again, and that honoring will make it so that you continue to create from love in the coming year. Oh, all right, dear ones. That was, that's getting us ready to complete our honoring ritual here. And I just want to honor you for a moment. And I'm going to wrap us up here with we call it a wisdom weaving, and it's the wisdom that we pull together, that came together from this year's reflection ritual. At the end of our reflection rituals, we always gather up wisdom. It's one of the best parts. I love it around the year-end power pause and reflection ritual is gathering all the wisdom from the year to come. And so at the public one that we do for the full community that's sponsored by the Feminine Wisdom Way, we at the end always gather up the wisdom, and all the different people who attend live share it. And then I put it into a poem, or really more of like a wisdom to walk into the next year with. So I'll share that as our ending. And I just want to pause and really honor you for all of the ways that you have shown up this year that are invisible to the outside, and to just really honor anything that you have done on the inside to heal, to be your best self, to be whole, to show up in a higher frequency, to do all the things that you've done invisibly inside of relationships, to create a field of love and compassion within them to the best of your ability. So all of the invisible things really matter. And I just want to honor you for that 100%, and to just like deep bow and gold stars and big, trophies. No, we don't want trophies. No trophy needed, but gold stars for sure. Gold stars for sure. And so thank you. Thank you for your heart. I honor your heart. I honor your compassion. I honor your passion and your willingness to keep showing up and being light in this world at a time when there's so much craziness, and it's so easy to get lost, and it's so easily to get distracted. But if you're here, I know you keep coming back to the light, and And I really honor your commitment in whatever way to grow and evolve and to elevate and to be part of creating a more beautiful world that is 100% where we're headed. And so you can count on me in this coming year to keep showing up. It's my role to keep the beat. And that's part of what Feminine Power Time does. So I will continue to be here, plus new things coming in the realm of leadership and reimagining the different ways that we show up in this world. So I'm still listening to Grace. So stay tuned. More to come in January. And I'd love to really have you with us on the Emerge Visioning process. I just love it so much myself. And then the Feminine Wisdom Way is really here to be a community, an oasis. It's a way of life and a way of living. And it is, it's near and dear to my heart, which is why we'll be doing it for the 9th year. And we're continuing on for the foreseeable future. And like 75% of women come back year after year because they say it holds them. The structure holds them. The sistership holds them. The wisdom holds them. So do check that out at femininewisdomway.com. And you can also learn about the Emerge process through femininewisdomway.com. That's just the best place to go. And do share this with somebody else. Do the honoring ritual together. Appreciate you sharing the podcast. It's the best way that I know to share, and it's what I what I rely on is all of you sharing with the people in your life. That's just part of what's important to me. I believe relationship and connection is the way that we elevate this world. So thank you so much for that, and I will see you soon, hopefully next week, as my sniffles seem to be dissipating. And let's end here with this beautiful wisdom. And I will post this up on the Feminine Wisdom Cafe as well. Wisdom to walk with in 2024, or any year that you're listening to this. This comes from the December Solstice 2023 Community Reflection. Remember, you don't know what you don't know, and hindsight is always 2020. Let go of black and white thinking. Let go of the rules. Don't beat yourself up over last year. Trust the wheel of the seasons to guide you. You thrive when you have structure. You have an inner knowing you can tap into. Honor and recognize your part. Honor and surrender to the natural timing of each thing. Keep going. You are getting closer. Trust the process. Take it day by day. Trust yourself. Speak your truth. Honor your spirit of compassion. It is okay to do what you want, no matter what others may think. I wonder what would be possible if you embraced, it's all going to be okay, even better than okay. The timing of my journey is perfect. I am love, and I am surrounded by love. I can have what I love in a way that I love. My path is always unfolding. I don't walk alone. How would you make choices differently if you believed, I deserve support? Receiving support is necessary for me to thrive. Relationships first. I don't have to let money drive my decisions. It's okay to put myself first. I will always be okay. I deserve greater attention and care. Receiving and being powerful are not mutually exclusive. Do this more often. Be less harsh on yourself. Worry less. Have more fun. Receive compliments. Take more time for reflection. Appreciate who you are, where you've been, and what you have. Listen to your intuition. Remember, you are here to play. You are allowed to enjoy this journey. Ask yourself, what if nothing could go wrong? What would I do if I knew, believed that nothing could really go wrong? There is grace for you to make mistakes. And mistakes don't mean you won't succeed. They are part of the journey. Suffering is optional. It's not a requirement for your earth walk. Trust that all is well and all is happening in divine time. You've got this. So with that wisdom, gleaned from women and men and beings from all over the world, let us step across this threshold in the field of honor. And I will see you very soon. Much love, everyone.